Evelyn, and welcome to my garden. I have been asked by Mary and Becky to talk about raised bed gardening for vegetables. If you've had the bed already laid out, it's already been dug. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's already been used. You need to till it, need to rototill down to at least 6 to 10 inches deep to get that soil moved around. While you're doing that, you might, well, I think you should, do a soil test. You add some of the soil to this little packet, drop one of its little pills in there and some distilled water, and that will tell you what your garden bed needs. Happily discovered that inside the packet, it's got every plant you can think of, or most of them anyway, and it'll tell you what the pH is necessary for those plants or vegetables. So I think it's a good thing to do. You have better luck with your garden if it's fed properly. Now you can frame your raised bed with wood, stone, boards from plastic, recycled plastic, and you hold it in place with stakes. You can also take the soil from between what's going to be your rows and bring it up, and that also raises the bed. Now, Mary did tell me that they have problems with chipmunks. Only thing I can think of to help that, and it might not work, is when you dig down your 10 inches, as you're tilling the soil and you know where your row that you want to plant is going to be, I would put chicken wire down there on either side of that bed, on either side of that row, and hopefully that will deter the chipmunks from digging through. That's the best I can come up with for that problem. Now, you might be tempted to use treated wood from the hardware store. It's inexpensive. It is not recommended for a vegetable garden. That wood is treated with arsenic. I would not want arsenic leaching into the soil and getting into the vegetables I'm trying to grow. So try not to do that. You can do it for plants, flowers. It doesn't affect them at all. If you choose to do that, please be careful. Wear gloves, long sleeves, and a face mask. Cut your boards, but don't burn the sawdust. Pick up the sawdust, the chips, whatever you have left over, put them in a garbage bag, dispose of them with the garbage. You can't burn it because that releases the arsenic, and I sure don't want you breathing in that arsenic. So it's kind of an iffy situation to use that. Okay, I'm going to get a little specific here. Try not to go too fast. To build a 4x8 rectangular bed, you're going to buy 3 8x2x2 boards and ask the lumber yard to cut one in half. Then you're going to place the boards together perpendicularly and screw them together using L brackets, and then finish the other side too. Now, to fill that size bed with good, mixed blend of good topsoil, you're going to use 50% topsoil, 25% compost, 25% aged manure. You can get aged manure at your garden centers. I recommend chicken manure, works just fine. Now, to fill this 4x8 foot by 1 foot, foot bed, you are going to need 10 bags packaged of 1.5 cubic feet of topsoil, 8 cubic feet of compost, which equals to 7 bags of 1.5 foot cubic feet, 8 cubic feet of aged manure, which is 6 bags of 1.5 cubic feet, and 1 pound of 10-10-10 fertilizer, or a balanced slow release fertilizer. Now when this is all done, and it's still cold outside, I know, it's very frustrating, you can cover this new raised bed with polyspun black fiber. That will help the ground, the soil, to warm up. Because, of course, we can't plant anything till that soil warms up, or we're going to freeze the roots, and that's not a good idea. Because a raised bed, whether it's mounded up or raised up, it has better drainage than normal, just plant it into the soil. So you might want to water it more often. At this point, I think I would put my soaker hose, wind it through the rows, or your drip irrigation, whichever you're going to use, so that you've already got that in place before you put your plants in. And then you can put your plants in. As you've made these rows, you've got the aisles that you walk in. Well, I don't know about you, but I get tired of weeding. And one good way to eliminate weeding those aisles between your rows is to put down cardboard, put down newspaper, put down straw. Any one of the three or combination thereof will kill any seeds that are still in that soil. The same thing goes if you've not done this garden before, and it's a good idea, might have to wait till next year. Cut where you find your bed, where you're going to plant these. Full sun, you've got to find a place in your yard that has the most sunlight you can get, and then cover the sod, the grass, with the cardboard, with the newspapers, hold it down with whatever heavy things that you can put out there. It will make the job so much easier next spring to dig that sod out, because you have to get rid of the sod. You can't just turn it, because you'll have the grass growing back up again. We got nowhere fast doing that, so you're going to get rid of that. And then you're going to, what I said, rototill down 8 to 12 inches and the whole 9 yards from there. Now, just to go on a little bit, you can stimulate the production of your beans and cucumbers by picking them when they're young. I'm kind of jump around a little bit here. That polyspun black fiber I was talking about, that can be used to cover your beans and peppers if a late frost is threatening. Again, you have to watch the nighttime temperatures. Nothing goes into my garden until I can get a week or 4 or 5 days of at least 50 degrees at night before I put cool weather things out in my garden. Some ideas for planting in your garden: potatoes. When you have that row tilled, you're going to want to dig out that soil, save it in a barrel bucket, however, and make seed potatoes. You can buy seed potatoes at garden centers, or you can make them at home. I've done red, Yukon Gold, and whatever that white potato is called. All you do is leave it sit till it starts growing eyes. Let the eyes grow a little bit more till you've got, sprouts about that big. Then you're going to slice the potato, lay it on newspaper. I mean, you want at least a chunk, so we say at least that big, with the eye. And then you're going to, after it's cut, you lay it on newspaper, and because potatoes are very wet, allow it to dry, allow that skin to dry. And then you're ready to go. Put them in the ground, put them in the bottom, and if you're going to do it in a container, which is what I've done, is I have at least 6 inches of soil in the bottom of my container. You're going to put them in your garden bed, as bottom as you can go in your garden bed. And then you're going to put them with the eye pointing up. This is what your potato is going to grow from. So you can put 4, maybe 5 in a container. Other than that, you're going to do them in a row if you're doing them in your garden bed. Cover them, and as the sprouts come up about 6 inches, cover them again with your good soil. As it sprouts again, cover them again. You're getting the idea of what I'm doing here. This is to protect these potatoes from the sun. We don't want the sun getting on our potatoes. The leaves are fine. They can get all the sunshine they want. They're feeding the potatoes. So you're going to keep adding soil. As it sprouts up, add soil. As it sprouts up, add soil. At a certain point, you're going to have nice big leaves. Now, these are going to protect your potatoes. At this point in time, in my container, I cover the soil with newspaper and or straw so that no sun can get through those leaves to wreck my potatoes. And you would do the same thing in your garden bed. Straw to protect the new potatoes coming. All right, easy to do. They will be ready come fall. You will know they're ready because the leaves, stalks, are all going to turn brown and wilt. At that point in time, you can dig them up if they're in your garden with a garden fork, or turn them over in your bucket, or leave them for a while. They'll be okay. I dump my container and then just dig through all the dirt and find all of my jewels of my potatoes. And they're so good. They are so good. Again, you fertilize. Okay, don't forget to fertilize. Now, carrots, I found out that, well, they take 2 to 4 months to grow. But there is a variety called a mini carrot, which I believe takes, 50 days to grow. So you might think about growing these mini carrots. Another thing is carrots don't like anything in their way. You have to have loose soil to grow carrots. I learned gardening is trial and error. My carrot went down and it found a rock, stone, whatever it didn't like, and it went that way. So I had an L-shaped carrot. It was interesting, but if the soil has been tilled and it's soft and smooth, they'll grow straight for you. Beans need full sun, 6 hours, at least 6 hours a day, and support. Bush beans will be ready to pick in 50 to 55 days. Pole beans, again, 55 to 65 days. You'll look at your packet, your seed packet. It'll tell you on the back how long before they would be ripe to pick. Now, beans are going to be growing all summer. The more you pick them, the more beans you're going to get of either the pole beans or the bush beans. Both need support, okay? The more I can keep the leaves and the plants up out of the soil so that nothing is laying on the soil, the less insects and worms and all those fun things get into my plants. And you want to keep, if you have any dead leaves or something, pick them and put them in the trash. Don't put them in your garden. You want to keep your garden as neat and clean as you can. Cool season vegetables. We have arugula, beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery, collards, endive, kale, lettuce, onions. You can buy the sets at the garden center, parsley, peas, radishes, spinach, and turnips. I grow my sweet peas in a container, and I take my tomato cage and I turn it upside down, and I wiggle the biggest part into the soil so it's fairly sturdy, and then I plant the peas around that structure so that as the pea vines grow up, they're going to twine up my tomato cage. Works very well. Lettuce. I do lettuce in my containers. I have, therefore, the rabbits and the chipmunks and all those sweet little dear animals don't eat my lettuce. As you plant your plants, think ahead to how much you really need. You're going to get a lot of beans. Radishes will be how many seeds you sow. But many of these things, now peas, I get more peas than I know what to do with. I think I had two plants last year. Too much. I'll only do one this year. I mean, I love the stuff. I love walking around in my garden just picking a pea pod and crunching away. But it was overwhelming. Now, what I wanted to say, there was something going on. Oh, I talked about that. I did hear something in my looking around that for warm season plants, never done it. Your soil needs to be 65 degrees or higher. And how are you going to know that? Well, you're going to take its temperature. You are going to go 4 inches below the surface at 8 a.m. in the morning and see what the soil temperature is. I think I will try it just for the sheer fun of that's something I've never paid any attention to. So it's just a little fun fact. Warm season, and I mean warm. Basil, beans, cucumbers, eggplant, melons, okra, peppers, pumpkins, squash, sweet corn. You know you can't grow one. You know you have to have 2, 3, 4 for them to cross-pollinate. Sweet potatoes and tomatoes. They like it warm. Now the beans, cucumbers, eggplants, and tomatoes, they need trellises or cages or staking. You want to put that, whichever apparatus you're going to do, up before, when you put your plant in. And when you plant your tomatoes, you're going to get them in a container and maybe you're going to have this much stalk. Plant most of that underground. 2/3 of that stalk needs to go into whatever bed soil that you're putting them in. This will give you stronger tomatoes, got whipped around by the wind so badly, as well as better root system. The more roots you've got, the more feed they're going to come up the plant to feed your tomatoes. Again, an aside, don't ever put your tomatoes in the refrigerator. For the sheer fact there's an enzyme in tomatoes that gives us that wonderful, fresh summer tomato taste. If you put them in a refrigerator, it kills that enzyme. You might as well have bought them at the store. Okay, that being said, now talk about the tomatoes. There's hybrid and heirloom variety of tomatoes. By and far, the hybrids will give you more tomatoes than the heirloom, but some of these heirloom tomatoes are really quite tasty. There's a thing called determinate tomatoes, which means they grow to a certain size and then produce in a short period of time. Indeterminate, they continue to grow all season long and produce. Fertilizer, 5-10-10, 5 being the low on nitrogen. I don't want to grow a lot of leaves. I want to grow tomatoes. Again, low nitrogen. Organic mulch, keep the soil moist and free of weeds. Okay, and I have some to suggest to you. There is the mortgage lifter, which is an heirloom. Obviously, from its name, it produces a lot of tomatoes, and they're good. There is Celebrity, which is a vigorous, indeterminate, round red tomato. Early Girl, I have all kinds of luck with Early Girl. Indeterminate, it often's the first to ripen and is dependable. Roma, which are the meaty, oval-shaped fruit, And sweet Chelsea is the cherry tomatoes, and they're sweet. There's one more, Better Boy, is an indeterminate, so it will continue to produce for you. Now, they particularly like their pH 6.2 to 6.8. Again, we're going to soil test. We have to know where we're at in our soil to get the best production. And this will tell you too. Shake and feed. You can use shake and feed. I use that a lot in my garden before you plant the tomatoes. And then they need at least an inch of water a week. I would do a little bit more because these raised beds drain fairly well. Now, if you see any dark spots on these leaves, remove them and discard them in the trash. Don't let them go into your ground. Tomatoes, eggplants, and you'll be so happy to know this, tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, and potatoes, they all will attract tomato hornworms. They're a bright green, maybe that long, and they're a fat worm. I pick them off and throw them in the trash. Now, I who won't touch a Japanese beetle, I will pick off tomato worms and get rid of them. Another thing, if you have wasps in your garden, don't spray them, don't kill them, leave them be. Stay away from them, but leave them be. They will eat a lot of these insects that destroy our flowers and our vegetables. They are a good thing. Now for these, you're going to start your seeds for warm season vegetables indoors under a fluorescent light. Now I'm going to suggest that you don't need anything really fancy to work with here. Nothing more than an egg carton, which I have poked holes in. And then the bottom goes over that top. I put topsoil in and gently wet it, and then I can plant my seeds. So that's how I start my seeds. Save your egg containers. You are going to put, your carrots and celery are susceptible to the carrot weevil. The adult is a dark brown to black insect, and they lay eggs in the leaf stalks. So you can get a dust to put on these plants. And it's called lindane, Lindane. You put that in the soil before you plant. And of course with this, because it has its own specific insect, you're going to practice crop rotation. Now, starting pepper seeds. These guys are tricky. Couple of ways to do it here. You can place the seeds in the freezer for 2 days. Remove them, place them on a damp paper towel. Put a plate or something over them that's going to keep them in the dark. Check your seed package for how many days to germinate. Check your seed package how many days before it will produce a crop for you. Then you're going to check them each day to see if they started to sprout yet. Keep the towel damp. When they start to sprout, you'll have a little, out of that seed, you'll have this little tiny green, almost looks like a hook. That means it's starting to sprout. And then you're going to place each seed in the potting soil, in the egg carton, and dampen it. Keep it damp. Don't soak them, but keep them damp. And then you're going to let them grow to probably maybe that tall till it has 2 sets, I don't quite know how to do this, 2 sets of true leaves. 2 sets on this side, 2 sets on that side. Then they're ready to go out in your garden. Rule of thumb, plant them 2 weeks after you plant your tomatoes. These guys really want it warm. They don't fool around. or 1 month after the last frost. Now, if you can figure out when our last frost is going to be, please let me know. They will not survive if there's frost. The other way to do is you can soak those seeds in for 2 to 8 hours in a glass, a bowl, whatever. And when they sink to the bottom, then you can plant them in an egg carton in the planting soil. And then just lightly cover the seeds with the soil. You can order ladybugs, which I think might be a good idea, online. And you might want to order ladybug food too, to help keep them in your garden so they don't go to your neighbor's garden. They will take care of your aphids. They take care of a lot of insects in your gardens. Something that I'm going to suggest is marigolds. Marigolds. Mosquitoes hate marigolds. This is a almost foolproof way to be able to sit outside and not get eaten up alive by mosquitoes. The other plants that will, oh, and I have to say, don't buy them at the store. They're already grown. They add neon, I can't say it, neon acetate. They add something to them. And it kills the bees. It's fatal to bees. We do not want to kill our bees. We need our bees. You know, we really need them for pollination. But here are some other plants that will not attract mosquitoes, actually will repel them. Basil, bee balm, chrysanthemums, geraniums, and they also repel ticks. Lavender will repel ticks, moths, black flies, and fleas. Lemon balm, lemongrass, lemon thyme, lemon verbena. Excuse me, tickle. And at this time, I'm also going to suggest, I keep track of what I plant. I put when I planted it, where I planted it, how well it did. This is from last summer's garden. These are the things that did well, and I would think about putting them in again. Just ideas and tricks. Hopefully these will help you. I hope your garden grows beautifully. I thank you for visiting. You can get a hold of me on email, evsgarden@ontv.org, and I'd be happy to hear from you. Happy gardening.